The Michigan state government has been in the news a lot lately thanks to all of the lead poisoning they've been giving poor people. But now they have distinguished themselves in a way so dramatic that it might actually cause us all to forget what's happening in Flint. They've passed a bill criminalizing oral and anal sex. Now, before you go getting all riled up, let me just nip this in the bud, make sure things don't get blown out of proportion. Oral and anal sex were already criminal activities in Michigan, okay? Not a big deal. That is to say, Michigan does have these laws criminalizing those acts, but they're unconstitutional and can't be enforced. That's the weird thing about the U.S. We have federal laws and state laws, federal laws trumping state laws. And so in a lot of states, we have a lot of old, antiquated, silly, and oftentimes bigoted laws that are unconstitutional, but no one has actually gotten around to clearing them out of the books yet. Because that takes work. And you know how politicians feel about work. In fact, in Michigan, up until 2002, it was technically illegal to curse in front of women and or children. And that remained in place until some guy fell out of a canoe, cursed in front of a woman and or child, was arrested, and ended up needing to be represented by the ACLU. And that's the way these things unfortunately go, is that there's an overly exuberant and, let's be honest, usually bigoted cop who decides to enforce one of these laws, and then some poor sucker has to spend all of their time and energy fighting it until the law is cleared off the books. And you know, calling that hypothetical defendant some poor sucker makes me think of a good idea of how we can get this oral sex law off the books. State Republican Senator Rick Jones is the guy who introduced the bill, and the entire point of it was to update animal cruelty laws. He left the oral and anal sex language intact because he didn't want people to freak out over that and to make that stop them from passing the bill. And the trouble is that he might be right. That might have caused a big uproar, but it also seems that he's wrong that not touching that language wouldn't also cause an uproar. And it's a real shame because the language that they're updating is pretty great. Part of the purpose of the updated bill is to establish an animal abuser registry so that shelters could have free access to this, and they would be able to tell if an animal abuser was trying to get their hands on another animal. It's really a great it's a no-brainer. Like, they should absolutely pass this bill. But now everybody's talking about how the passage of this bill is going to criminalize oral and anal sex. No, it merely continues to allow oral and anal sex to be criminalized in Michigan. Although, again, you can't enforce that because it's unconstitutional. So the bill has passed the Senate. It still needs to pass the House, and hopefully this nonsense won't get in the way of it passing. The senator pointed out that he would be in favor of another bill that would come through and say, hey, let's strike all unconstitutional laws from Michigan's books, which, yeah, makes perfect sense. But it also makes you wonder, like, isn't that something they should be doing on the regular anyway? Maybe like a biannual thing, the way that we check smoke detectors, maybe? I don't know. I'm not a politician. So in summary, politics in the U.S. is super messed up, but maybe not as messed up as everyone thinks.